Well, it was a dark and stormy night. It was the late of December. It actually wasn't dark. Uh, I think it was storming a little bit, but not that much. But I digress. Myself and my husband we were talking to some officers when we noticed that a van that we had arrived at VPD was getting towed for being illegally parked. We inquired about it, and I went to go talk to the public works member that was towing it. The officers ordered me off of the public works truck, so I obliged. And Lady Bishop told my husband to get off of the Bugstar van. He got off, but he thought that she had said something about get in the car and drive away, so he got in the car, and next thing we both knew, she pulled out her taser and tried tasing him. The taser shot missed, thankfully, but I immediately saw red. I mean, how could I not? My husband was just narrowly about to be harmed by some officer as he was trying to comply with her demands. And we hadn't been detained at this point. We weren't even being questioned. We had shown no signs of violence, made no threats. We were just hanging about being silly little gooses. So I saw red. I smacked Lainey in the face and told her, "Don't touch my man." And I believe, yes, it was Ollie Snatch who was behind me, went to tase me. Actually, it might have been Lainey who tased me. I'm not really sure which one of them tased me, but one of them did. And I got up, and I was even more angry. I was furious. So I turned around, and I hit Ollie Snatch on the vest twice. And Ollie Snatch ran over to where Lainey and my husband were. I stopped punching, and right as I stopped hitting them, as I realized it's a futile attempt, after all, I'm an unarmed 5'2" petite woman, and there are 4 fully armed officers. I feel white hot searing pain in my, I believe it was my left side? I could be wrong. It was a bit of a blur at this point, but next thing I know, Alexis Frost is shooting me, shooting into a crowd of people no less, and she continues to shoot at me as I'm completely unarmed, as I've already stopped the violence. And one of her bullets actually strikes the clothing of my husband, who had not been violent and had been compliant the entire time. I freak out and I try to run away, and she's still shooting at me as I run away. I go around the van, come to the other side, and that's when, I'm not sure of the other officer, but, Ollie Statch and another officer both simultaneously tased and hit me with a baton, and I do believe I blacked out from there.
Right. So just to be clear, you were running away with your back turned to the U.S. Marshal.
Yes.
As well as being unarmed with only your fist. And she
Yes.
shot at you?
That is correct. She shot at me after I threw exactly 3 punches.
Not just one shot, repeatedly shot at you. Can you recall how many shots? Or can you give me a guesstimate?
A guesstimate I would say would be around 7 to 10. If
and we all
not
know
a bit
only
more.
one bullet can be lethal, right?
That is very true. In fact, I'm surprised that she didn't hit Lainey, considering she was, well, she didn't have the best of aim, but she was shooting right next to me, and as I was running away, there was probably only about 6 inches between me and Lainey when she first started shooting, and only a couple feet between me, Lainey, Ollie, and my husband.
Could you remind me, is Ollie a officer or just a civilian?
Ollie Statch is a corporal for LSPD.
All right, so she saw the direction of 2 cops and 2 unarmed civilians. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did she share any words between you afterwards? Were you able to speak with her after you were treated medically? If
Before I
need
passed out,
be.
I vividly recall her saying something along the lines of, and pardon my French, but she said, "Serves you right, you fucking bitch."
Do you have a history with Miss Frost?
I do not. I have only met her, or seen her rather, one time briefly before, and that is when she was saying some extremely disgusting things to a man in front of me outside of Legion Bank.
Do you recall what she said?
She was calling him insults and saying that he was fucking stupid, among other colorful words I'd rather not repeat.
That's all right. Apologies.
It's alright.
Would you say you have a reputation with the police? And if so, do you feel like you've been discriminated against?
Considering this is my 4th time,
We've reached out to the United States Marshals. Do you? And they say they won't be providing a statement about the civil suit until afterwards. Do you have any comments on that?
I don't really expect them to make a statement afterwards either, though I would be pleasantly surprised if they did. Although if that statement is anything along the lines of, "Our officers are here to serve and protect," I'd like them to reconsider.
All right. And I think these will be my final questions. Are you familiar with the excessive force laws in San Andreas?
I have been briefed on them by my lawyer. It turns out that, according to my lawyer at least, well, not just my current lawyer, but also lawyers of the past, that there's not really a whole lot of excessive use of force laws, but there is a solid one. And one of the components to detail whether something is a justified use of force is if the use of force is no greater than the harm that would have been avoided. Now, I don't know about you. I may be a fighter, but my punches are not exactly my strong suit, especially when they're, hitting the vest of an officer. Those vests are quite thick. As they should be, they are to prevent against bullets. She decided to take it upon herself to, well, commit a grievous act against me because I punched 2 officers 1 time and 2 times respectively. I'm not exactly sure if potential death was on the table for me punching either officer. I don't think it was. I certainly wasn't trying to cause death.
No, especially not if you were aiming your punches towards their chest when all of them should be wearing bulletproof vests.
Yes, especially in a city like San Andreas. Especially to protect yourself against cops shooting at you unarmed from across the rooftop. Or when you're running away. Or... Anyway.
Yeah. And what would you like the civil suit's outcome to be? We saw that you pled no contest for the criminal cases, which means that you accept any of the charges, but you do not, you don't see yourself as guilty as one. Sorry, let me rephrase it. I don't know what contest means. It means the defendant does not admit or dispute a charge, but accepts the punishment as if guilty.
Mm-hmm. That would be correct.
Mm-hmm.
I want the outcome to be accountability. Not just for Alexis Frost, but for every officer who I hear countless stories of them committing heinous crimes against civilians every single day. There's hardly a day goes by where I don't hear somebody talking about something that happened to them. I've also witnessed many accounts of police brutality firsthand, not including directed at myself. I want officers to realize that you're not Southsiders. You don't get to just shoot people because you want to be big, bad, and tough. You're not big and bad. And you're certainly not tough if you're resorting to guns over fists. That's something even I don't do. And if you don't believe me, well, you can subpoena my criminal history if you want. But I digress. No, I'm 21 years old. I just recently reunited with my big brother, who I haven't seen in 3 years. I have a family, a wonderful husband, people I care about. Alexis Ross tried to take all that away from me because she lacked the self-control and maturity to use her many available non-lethal tools to protect her 2 colleagues from 3 simple punches. She thought that me, a incredibly tiny, 5'2", 100-pound butt woman striking an officer after seeing them attempt to harm my husband, justifies trying to kill me. She tried to use her position to justify murder, something that, if I were to do, would no doubt end up with attempted murder charges and heinous fines and time, justifiably so. Whilst the question you proposed to me is understandable, I also have a question for her. And really, I'd love the opportunity to ask her this, but apparently she won't be at the trial, which is why she did a deposition. Why did she think that 3 punches would be justification for killing me? Why did she choose to try and kill me as her first line of defense? Why did she think that was justifiable to deprive me of my life, deprive my husband of the love of his life, deprive my family of their sister, their sibling, their loved one, their... Never mind. I just want to know. I want that question to be answered not by the courts, but by her.